The, the signing of this MOU marks the start of the Energy Transition Project in Bermuda, a project that seeks to fully transition Bermuda's transportation sector and diversify electricity generation options for Bermuda. I am pleased to be joined today by Justin Locke, who serves as Director of Islands Energy Program and is a member of the Rocky Mountain Institute team. He's actually the leader of the team that will be working with us in Bermuda. I am pleased also to be joined by my ever-energetic and hard-working colleague, the Minister for Tourism and Transport, Zane De Silva. And we're both happy to be here to commence this MOU and sign this agreement. This is an exciting day as this government moves to transform the future of electricity and transportation in Bermuda to a more sustainable and efficient for everyone. And we are all encouraged by the possibilities this presents for us. The aim of this project is to start research around creating a more resilient and cost-effective energy future for Bermuda, which includes bus electrification and renewable energy sources. I would like to thank the members of the ministry who are with us today, the Director of Energy, Ginny Nicolai, and her team, particularly Aaron McKittrick, also the Director of DPT, Mr. Roger Todd, are here with us today. They have all contributed to where we are with this wonderful moment and the signing of this MOU. Our collective goal is to pave the way for a more cleaner and sustainable energy future for Bermuda. I will now turn over the podium to Mr. Justin Locke, who is here with us from the Rocky Mountain Institute.
Thank you.
Justin. Yeah.
I'm just going to put on my glasses here.
Oh, okay.
Well, first of all, I'd just like to thank Minister Robon and Minister De Silva for the invitation and for the opening remarks. I'd also like to thank the Department of Energy for all their support, the Department of Public Transportation, the Regulatory Authority for their continued support and cooperation leading up to today. Having worked in islands my entire life, the Bermuda story has always been one of empowerment, not only to me, but of islands across the world. A small country in the middle of the Atlantic Ocean, long known for being one of the most vulnerable countries in the world to hurricanes, but has refused to accept this reality, and instead of living in fear of extreme events and correlating economic shock, went on to develop and implement some of the most progressive and innovative building codes, construction standards, and cultural practices in the world that have made Bermuda the gold star, the global gold star for resiliency. Bermuda now faces a similar situation, where your reliance on fossil fuels for electricity and transportation has led to a high degree of vulnerability to economic shock in a globalized world. This reliance on fossil fuels has directly led to a higher cost of doing business, and more importantly, a higher cost of living for Bermuda and its citizens, which has exacerbated the economic gap between rich and poor, as well as made Bermuda less competitive in the global economy. Compounding this fact, Bermuda's reliance on fossil fuels on a per capita basis exceeds many developed continental countries, which are blamed for accelerating climate change. But Bermuda now has an opportunity to be the global gold standard once again, this time for the energy transition. By transitioning from a fuel that makes us unsafe, dependent, volatile, and unhealthy in fossil fuels, to a new fuel that makes us safe, independent, durable, and healthy in renewable energy, Bermuda has the opportunity to demonstrate that islands like Bermuda are not victims of global economic shock and climate change, but the ones bold enough to provide solutions. With declining costs of renewable energy and the clear economics around electrification of the transport sector, Bermuda can reinvent itself by transitioning to a lower cost, more reliable, and cleaner electricity system, making Bermuda a more attractive place to invest to visit, and most importantly, to live. We have learned through working across several islands across the Caribbean that there are many challenges to the energy transition. Regardless of what your size, which you may think are intuitive, there are some key ingredients that we think that we've seen for success. First of all, you need a plan. It's critical that stakeholders such as the government, the public, the local utility align around a core vision to develop and achieve. This plan should be based on a strong technical understanding of the parameters of the electrical grid as well as the underlying economics of the transportation sector. It should chart out a pathway that leads to a transition, and it must have buy-in from all stakeholders, or else it will ultimately run into pitfalls later on. We plan to work in close collaboration with the Bermuda Regulatory Authority to provide independent, third-party, world-class guidance to ensure that Bermuda's IRP and supporting regulations are aligned with global best practice and tailored to the unique characteristics of Bermuda. Secondly, we need to act. Whether it's a big step or a baby step, it is critical to take action required to build momentum to the energy transition, thereby proving that the plan can be realized. Bermuda has already taken that first step with a recent contract signing for the 6 megawatt solar PV plant, which is Bermuda's first utility-scale renewable energy project. We aim to build on this project by conducting the appropriate pre-feasibility and feasibility studies to assess additional sites for solar PV and battery storage the electrical grid can handle, as well as where these new assets will be placed, given that you have limited constrained land space. Once we have completed this analysis, we plan to support the government and regulatory authority in publishing a tender for an integrated solar PV and battery storage project that will likely include several aggregated sites. In addition, we will work with the Department of Transportation to assess the viability of transitioning the public bus fleet to electric buses that will pave the way to electrify the entire transportation system. Lastly, it is critical to collaborate if the energy transition is to be realized. No one can facilitate the energy transition alone. It requires collaboration between stakeholders and with outside knowledge providers, and most importantly, with other islands going through the same journey. The energy transition requires human energy most of all, and it flourishes when given the collaborative and learning environment. At RMI, this is core to our vision, and we are now seeing utility engineers, government policymakers, and regulatory staff all learn from one another and tackle enormous challenges together. And tomorrow's Energy Summit is a perfect example of that. As such, we look forward to connecting Bermuda with other islands that are going through the same process and experiencing the same challenges. Most importantly, we hope to amplify the Bermuda story so that the Bermuda energy transition experience is recognized once again as the global gold standard around the world. On behalf of the Rocky Mountain Institute, I cannot say enough in terms of how excited we are to be working with the government of Bermuda and regulatory authority on this very exciting initiative. Thank you very much.